what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Officially don't have a name yet, so drop it. Can they drop comments in this?
I guess so. I think we made a YouTube channel by now, probably.
If you're seeing this on YouTube, leave us a comment. And we're going to come up with some podcast names. We may have an intro with a name on this by the time you see it. Who knows? As of right now, we haven't thought of one. But we basically put out a poll on Instagram, and we're going to be answering a lot of you guys' questions. We got a few pretty good, juicy questions to answer on this podcast, so I'm going to give it over to Tate. Maybe he can roll us into the first one.
Yeah, so we want to keep things pretty lighthearted, like getting some good, juicy discussion. So we got both fishing and non-fishing questions. So we'll just dive right into them. First of all, you've been catching some giants down in Georgia.
Yeah.
What's up down there? What's going on?
I've been waiting on them to actually go on bed for about a month, and finally saw my first bed last week. So basically what I'll do is I'll just go out one day and just do nothing but look for beds, and then the next week I'm just like, I remember where the biggest ones were and I just target those. I don't worry about the twos and the threes. I just skip over them and just find the big ones.
So they just got on beds when for you?
Last week.
So
well, that's when I saw the first bed, but our water's been chocolate milk for a couple weeks now.
Right.
So
yeah. So I was at the lake yesterday. Almost got skunked, by the way. Tough day. Cold front come through. But I actually saw some on beds, and there was a few. So that's interesting. I'm only about like you said, though, you only saw them a week ago. So, it could be.
Yeah, I'm sure they were.
Yeah. So what's your water temp?
The main lake I fish, it's been maintaining right around 65.
Okay. Yeah.
What is y'all's?
I've been about 57, and then a little bit further up in the creeks, it's about 60, 61. So.
See, we're really not that much different. People always think that I'm like South Georgia, and I'm like pushing that Tennessee line up there, So my lakes run a little cooler than those South Georgia lakes, because I went bed fishing in South Georgia a month ago.
Really? Yes. So I'm only about like 20 minutes from Tennessee line too. So we're really not that far,
Yeah. We're about the difference between South Georgia and North Georgia, or less than that, really.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
So yeah, fishing's tough. I've been having a hard time getting on them. Spring fishing for me, it's one of those things. If you can find them at some point in early spring, you can kind of follow them. But where I've not been fishing, it's kind of been like, I'm just kind of here and there, just kind of guessing at it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I am. But with that said, we're going to dive into these questions. We've got some amazing questions, some awesome questions to dive into right here. I'm pretty pumped. So the first one, do you tell the truth at the boat ramp?
Absolutely not. It's always a lie. If I have a great day, I didn't catch a thing at the boat ramp. And if it's a terrible day where I know everybody didn't catch a fish, I say I did pretty good.
Okay. So I'm pretty much the same. Sometimes I get froggy and I'll say that even if I had a good day, I had a better day. I mix it up, the lies sometimes. And but I always catch something. I'm always catching something. I'm never gonna say I got skunked. So that's a good question. So let us know in the comments what your guys' response are to these questions. But what do you say most people lie at the boat ramp too, right?
Absolutely. Unless they're really cocky, they'll tell you they caught a bunch of big ones. I don't know. I'm just not honest about it.
I'm not either, 100%. But here's something I've run into, because I have a lot of local guys that follow me, and I've seen them out on the water before. And if I'm having, say I see a person on a specific day, well, I'm probably going to put out the video in the next week or so, right? And they know, like I know that they know if I catch a good one, it's going to be in the video. So I've been guilty of telling people that I caught a good one and knowing it's not going to be in the video, and then they ask me if I've caught any, and I'll tell them, and then I find out they're subscribed to the channel. So that's kind of a interesting. I wonder what they think about it. Like when it's just obvious it's that day. Just wonder if you ever run into that.
Yeah, I do. I specifically space out my videos longer than that just for that reason. Cause like I just recorded that bed fishing video. What was it? A couple days ago. I'm probably not even going to publish that one until almost May. Just so when people see that bedfish is gone. Like all those fishing spots, they're not even good anymore. But that's just my logic.
That's a good strategy, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, because there's people, like I said, I have a lot of locals that are subscribed to me, and I fish tournaments against them. And I know for a fact, when I get froggy and I put out a video within a day or two of me filming it, the next week, I fish a Thursday night, the next week, those guys are beating me to that spot.
That's exactly why.
And I know that to be a fact. So, yeah, I'm kind of with you on that.
I put out an A-rig video last year with Larry Melton, and Larry's the type of guy to where he films it, it's up 2 days later at least. So I wanted my video to kind of be published the same time as his, you know. So I dropped that video 2 days after we did all that A-rig fishing, and literally that weekend I went out, I saw like 6 boats throwing A-rigs all in our spots, and nobody throws A-rigs out there. Just everybody was throwing A-rigs.
Nice.
So I don't do that.
Yeah, that's something you got to think about. Especially, I love fishing tournaments. The problem is there's so many cheaters around here. It's kind of turned me off to it a little bit, but I still enjoy it. So I've got to be careful. Got to be careful doing that. All right, here we go. So the next question was, do you believe what you hear at the boat ramp? I would say that's a no. Right? No. Like advice on baits.
Unless it's just some really nice old guy, you know, you can kind of decipher those, you know. But if it's somebody my age, I just don't believe them at all. Absolutely not. If they say they're hitting green pumpkin, I'm throwing black and blue. Every time.
I'm with you on that. All right. What do you consider a dink?
Personally, if it's 12 inches and under, it would be a dink. Anything, if it's a little bit bigger than that, it may be small, but it's not a dink.
Oh, so pound-wise, less than a pound? Or pound?
Pound and less is a dink.
Okay. I would say pound and a half. I feel like once it's 2 pounds, it's a dink. Because most 2-pounders are keeper, right? It's a keeper fish. So.
Yeah, you can put that in a live well in a tournament. 2-pounder, yeah.
So, okay, so 2-pounder. So about 1.5. That's a dink.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Okay. We come to agreement on that. If you had one bait, this is a juicy question. If you had one bait to throw forever, and you could throw no other baits, no matter what time of year, what the water temp is, water clarity, what are you going to pick?
It's probably going to be a chatterbait.
Okay. That's an interesting choice.
I hate to be that guy.
What about clear water, though? Like 20-foot, like, visibility.
Probably a wacky rig.
I know. What I'm saying though, like, so you're just pretty much forfeiting that, right? Like you're not going to be throwing like a chatterbait.
Well, obviously not. Like, I probably wouldn't be fishing 20-foot deep clear water with a chatterbait. I'd probably just be forced to fish shallow.
So you just keep it shallow?
Yeah, like I think the deepest I fish chatterbaits are around 8 feet, and you know I have fished it deeper, but you have to let it sink a long time and then very slowly reel. Otherwise, it's going to jump right back up into the water column. But
you know something I've never noticed? I don't think I've ever thrown a chatterbait over a 3/8 ounce. Have you? You throw half ounce?
All I ever throw is half ounce, just because they throw so much better.
Really? Okay.
I love it.
I've never used it before because I've just never, like you, I just fish them shallow. But you ever watch Fish at the Moment?
No.
Okay,
no.
So he's the big offshore fisherman on YouTube. He puts out, that's pretty much his thing. And I saw some videos of him fishing a chatterbait like offshore. And that's just something I've never done, never thought of. Because when I fish offshore like that, I'm thinking like deep crank, right? Like I'm not throwing chatterbait just because, I don't know, it just takes forever for it to sink. I don't fish a lot of spinnerbaits offshore either. So like 20 foot, you know. But anyway, what bait would I throw? I would probably say a jig. because I feel like a jig is probably the most versatile bait that you can have. So you can put a swim bait on it. You can just put your crawl on it, drag it. You can hop that sucker up and down, yo-yo it.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
a jig's pretty good.
Jig's good. You can swim it.
You can work a chatterbait like a jig if you really try.
Well, it is a jig pretty much. Yeah. And that's a technique that I use sometimes. Is I'll let the chatterbait go down, and that blade lifts it up, so it's kind of like just hopping. It's like a jig with a little bit more about it's a bladed jig, right? So,
right.
I like to just drag those chatterbaits sometimes. It works.
Yeah.
It works. You have any questions on yours?
I do. I know you said, what do you consider a dink? Maybe we should go in what we consider like a big bass, or even like a hog or a pig, because like those are all different categories. Because like what may be a big bass, like a pig is even bigger, you know. But like, what's the poundage in your opinion? And then I'll get to me.
All right, so we got different PBs. My biggest bass ever, I've caught so many 5-pounders. I mean, I would say I've caught 20-some 5-pounders in my life. And I just can't get over the 5-pound mark. 5.5 is my PB. So I would say, I'm assuming yours is much bigger than that.
We got to get you down here.
Yeah, I gotta come down there. But I would say just a hog to me would probably be 5 pounds and over.
I think it definitely depends on your region. I would agree with you on that. Here in Georgia, I'd say a big bass is anything over 5, and a hog would be anything over 7, good over 7. And a monster would be anything over 10.
Yeah. So how many 7s have you caught? You even know?
I kept a tally in my note section on my phone last year, and I just did any bass over 5 pounds. I would record the date, the place, the time, whether it was a full moon, a half moon, a crescent, the water temperature, just because like I wanted to kind of do some personal studies. And last year I caught 24 bass over 5. And out of those 24 bass that were over 5 pounds, there might have been 10 that were over 7. So, no, or right at 6.5, 7, in that range.
You broke my PB almost 20 times last year.
Yeah. So I mean, if you do the math, maybe 10 bass, maybe a year, pushing 7. So I've probably caught 100, pushing 7. But when you talk about 8 and 9, that goes drastically down. Like if I've caught 100 7s, I've probably caught 10 8s. You know, like maybe 5 9s and 2 10s. Like that's how fast it goes down.
Yeah. So what I've heard, and I've never even come close, like catching a 9 is, I mean, that's a feat, right? But for a 9 to become a 10 is just like, I don't know what the analytics are on that, but like to become a 10-pound bass, like you have to have a lot of things go in your favor as a fish.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and then you have to catch it. And big bass, and I'm sure you know this, it just requires more energy for them to move, and they're just not going to go after every little thing that comes by like a small one. You know what I mean? Right. So, just getting those things to move is a challenge. They're harder to catch.
I'm not sure how true it is. I've heard that a bass has to eat 10 pounds to gain 1 pound. And
did you hear that from me? I made a TikTok on that.
It's just an old fisherman thing I've heard, I guess. But I mean, you think about how old a 10-pounder is. It's got a 10-pound bass is like equivalent to like a 80-year-old person. You know what I'm saying? So you're not only dealing with the age, you're dealing with like that bass is having to eat an incredible amount of food to really pack on those pounds. And most of the time bass just die after they get 5 or 6 pounds. I know people probably think they just keep growing, but it is a rare exception that those bass just somehow get the good luck. I think pond bass just have it a little bit easier because they have less of the competition, and they can kind of be like the alpha of that small environment. Versus if you're an 8-pound bass in a large lake, you're dealing with a lot of other elements.
Yeah, absolutely. So interesting. That really makes my confidence go up that you caught 25 times my PB last year.
Hey, but you take my analytics and you talk about a guy in Florida, like those guys in Florida are pulling out 9s and 10s left and right. I'm pulling out 1 9 a year, maybe. The last time I caught a 9 was about 3.5 years ago. So that tells you I can catch 25 bass over 5 pounds every year, and I'll only catch a 9 maybe every 3.5 years. That's how rare those fish are.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm interested, and I'll probably look it up after this. What is so different between a 7 and a 9? I need to That's crazy, man. That's just hard to fathom, honestly. It's only like 2 pounds,
Yeah, because they really stop growing this way, and then they just start growing that way, and somewhere in that transition,
get those shoulders.
Somewhere they just die off or don't make it, I guess.
It's crazy. All right, you got another question?
Do you have any more off Instagram?
Oh yeah, I got plenty.
Yeah, I'm good. I can't think of anything. So
okay, I got plenty. Yeah. Let's see. All right, here's your good one. Not fishing related. Let me find it. Oh no, I lost it. How many chickens would it take to kill an elephant?
Gosh, do these... That's a tough question. I'd probably say at least 2,000 chickens.
2,000.
I'm gonna say.
Okay.
I'm gonna say because the elephant's gonna stomp on most of them, but eventually some of them chickens are just gonna be just pecking away.
Right. So I guess the real question is are these chickens out to get this elephant? I think that's a given, right? These chickens are out to kill the elephant. So
yeah.
if chickens had a higher order of thinking, I think they would be okay. So I'm thinking chickens are going for the eyes, right? If they can get up there, chickens can fly. But here's the thing: elephants are afraid of mice. Is that a thing? That is a thing, right?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna say less. I'm gonna say. Have you ever had a chicken get after you before?
Yeah.
Like a rooster?
They're pretty mean.
Yeah.
They're pretty mean.
So if we're just talking those aggressive roosters, I would say over a longer period of time, I would say 500 chickens could kill an elephant. Maybe less.
I just looked it up on Google, and they have an answer.
What's the answer?
I guess this is theoretical, but it says 26,000 chickens.
What?
And the reason it says that, it says one chicken gives off about 8 BTUs per pound per hour, a British thermal unit, which describes the amount of energy to raise 1 pound of water, 1 degree Fahrenheit, something. They come up with some theory on how it's going to take 26,000 chickens, but we disagree with that.
They've never been around the chickens I've been around.
And if anybody has an elephant and 500 chickens, we'll test it.
Yeah, I'd be willing. I think 500. If you take, the game chickens, you take 500 of those roosters.
500 roosters or 500 chickens would be 2 different things.
True. I guess that's true.
500 roosters would get it done. I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I think so too. All right. What is one thing that's overrated about fishing?
That it's better than a good day at work, I guess.
You think so?
Yeah, they say.
So you think a good day at work is better than a bad day of fishing?
Depends on how bad this bad day of fishing is.
I mean, it's like the worst day. It's the worst day of fishing.
In my opinion, a good day at work would be better. I've had some extremely bad days. We've flipped our boat. lost all our tackle.
Okay, well that's pretty extreme.
That's a bad day of fishing, and I would have rather just had a good day at work that day.
But what about your normal bad days? Like you didn't flip your boat, you just went out there and you sat all day, didn't catch anything.
Then I would agree.
It was
probably
some
better.
baits. Okay,
but people need to be specific.
Okay. I would say the most overrated thing about fishing, and we'll get some hate about this.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to say it's... I don't know if I should say it. I'm going to say throwing a topwater frog is overrated.
It is.
You think so? You agree with that? I'm surprised you agree with that.
Well, I'm not going to name names. I know somebody, if he's listening to this podcast, this guy will throw a topwater all year long, just hoping to get a bite, because like the topwater bites, just everybody loves topwater. But they're not always hitting topwater. It's not always time for topwater.
I'm not saying topwater is overrated. I'm just saying specifically a frog is overrated.
I'll tell you what, I agree, especially when it's a frog that has nothing on the rear end. I am a huge fan of like the Strike King Rage Toads, because they flap. It's kind of almost like a whopper plopper. I like those, but the frogs that do nothing, I'm not a big fan.
So you're talking about a hollow body frog.
A hollow body frog
versus a toad.
I would rather use a toad.
Okay, yeah, I feel that.
Any day of the week.
100% I feel that. My thing is, like, you're wanting a topwater bite. The one good thing about a frog, my favorite thing about it, is that you can throw it in places you can't throw a spook, right? You can't throw a whopper flopper. That's the only good thing about it. But you're only going to hook up, at best, with like 50, 60% of your bites, you know?
Right.
And to me, I would rather throw in a weedless lunker log or Senko, you know, than do that, you know? So, yeah, that's my hot take. Can't wait to see comments on that one. Next one. What is the most underrated thing about fishing? Well, if you had to pick one thing that's underrated.
Probably just catching different species, in my opinion. I am not against catching crappie, bluegill, catfish. Some people are just diehard only bass fishing. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like sometimes those other species can be underrated. You know, the right time of year, there's nothing better than putting 100 crappie in the boat in 30 minutes.
I agree with that. So you're saying the variety within fishing that people don't take advantage of.
Right.
So you're, diehard bass fishermen, and then you got your diehard crappie guys that aren't going to, you know, they catch a bass and they're like, oh, man.
Yeah.
You know? I would say the most underrated thing about fishing is the camaraderie that you have amongst other fishermen.
Okay.
And I don't think other people get that. Like when you walk in a tackle shop, or just seeing someone in the fishing section at Dick's Sporting Goods or something, it's like you just instantly have a connection.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you instantly have something in common. You've experienced the highs and lows of fishing, and you just get it.
Right.
Right. You can do. It's almost like you understand. I'm getting pretty deep right here. I ain't gonna lie, this is deep. You understand that you can do the best you can, do the best presentation, and at the end of the day, it's just left up to luck.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I feel like it goes back to life. Without getting too Bob Ross on us here, I feel like that goes back to life. Next question. Okay, hold up. At what age would you say is too old to be a fishing YouTuber?
That's a tough one. There's a channel I watch. I don't know if you've seen her. It's called Old Lady Angler. You ever seen her?
Sounds familiar.
I actually really like her stuff. She is a diehard kayak fisherman. And she lives down in Florida. She catches tanks. Like, she catches 9s and 10s out of her kayak. And I'm not trying to be rude, but she's probably pushing in the 60s range. I hope she's not watching. I hope I'm not wrong about her age. But if she can do that in her 60s, I don't think any age is too old, per se, as long as you have a good personality and something, you got some charisma. But some people are too old for YouTube at 30. So
true, that is true. I definitely agree with that. And the first one that comes to mind for me is Richard Gene. I know you know who Richard Gene is.
My pastor loves Richard Gene with a passion.
I don't know of anybody that doesn't like Richard Gene. You know what I mean? Like I would say that he's not the typical kind of content or type of person that I watch.
No.
On YouTube, but he is just Richard Gene. You know what I mean?
Fishing machine.
He's a fishing machine, and he got that other little alternate personality he does.
Yeah, he's like bipolar in his boat, just saying "woo."
Yeah, people don't do that stuff. You know what I mean? So I'm sure he's probably looking 60 in the eyeball.
Yeah, late 50s at least.
And the guy's just fun to watch. You know, he's just out there slaying. He don't have any fancy technology or fancy boat or anything like that. He's just out there, you know, just cranking on everything.
Just a regular
bass fishing.
Yeah.
I love Richard Gene.
So yeah, that's another great example. That guy's awesome.
Love Richard Gene, man. Yeah. I
had never even heard of him until my preacher was like, "Hey, do you watch Richard Gene, the fishing machine?" I was like, "No." He was like, "He's crazy." He's like, he'll be having like bipolar schizophrenia or something out on the lake. It's pretty good though.
Actually, the exact same though. My father-in-law told me about it, and because he was out there, we was going to the beach, and he was like tying up some like pompano rigs or something. I don't even remember what it was, but he was like basing off something Richard Gene had showed him, and he was like, "You ever watch Richard Gene?" I was like, "No." I started watching him. He's so much fun to watch. Okay, here's a good one. Do you think social media, and I think we've already touched on this, do you think social media has ruined fishing spots? What's your experience with that?
Definitely. I try not to spot burn the best of my ability. I will film a video and I will tag Alabama in the location, or I will tag another lake in the location just to throw a little bit of shade or, you know, the scent off my trail.
You seen the guys that like block out the background?
I have a buddy that fishes tournaments, and his photos are always blurred every time. But it's a heartbreaking moment when you upload a really good video and people just start commenting, "Oh, I know where this is at," la la, and blowing it up.
They feel the need to like comment, let everybody know this is this lake.
Yeah, and I just delete them.
I don't get that at all. I just don't.
I don't either.
But actually, early on, a great way to get views early on for me was I would share the video in the group for that lake. Because I don't know how it is around you. I assume it's probably the same. Like I got a lake out here and it has its own group, and then like all the lakes have their own group. So I would share that video in there because they don't want you spamming irrelevant content. So I would, just put it in there and say, this is whatever lake. And they were usually okay with that, which for obvious reasons. But yeah. And that's pretty much what happened with my little tournament I was telling you about. People were beating me in my spots.
That's why, like, Extreme Outdoorsman, like, whenever he puts up his Lake St. Clair videos, those videos get a ton of views. Versus, like, if he goes anywhere else and it doesn't have Lake St. Clair in the title, those views are going to be cut in half. And I could do the same. If I wanted extra views, I could put the name of my locations. But I'm not going to do that. Because I don't have... What I'm fishing is not as big as Lake St. Clair. So...
Yeah, so I went out to Lake Cumberland in Dale Hall a few times. And I've done some videos out there. And I do include those in the name. Because they're not, like, close by.
Right.
So I don't care to do that. And those are pretty popular lakes, too. So people are searching for them.
Right. Like, if it's Okeechobee, Gunnersville, those lakes are so big and the names are already out there, most likely they're not going to find your spot on the lake if you have some spots dialed in. especially Okeechobee, because that's just a round circular lake with nothing but grass. You know, nobody's going to find your spot. But my lake, people will be like, oh, I recognized that boat dock. I recognize that boat ramp. I recognize this or that. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
They recognize.
And I think that's a very underrated attribute that fishermen have. Just being able to analyze a place and like draw from the smallest details. Just figure out where you are.
I'll tell you the number one app that was probably, I liked it when it first came out, and then after I started thinking about it,
I already know what it is.
You know what? This is the worst app any fisherman could have ever came out with. And should I even say it? Like, we both know
Fishbrain? Yeah.
Fishbrain, bro.
100%.
That is a spot burning machine.
Yeah, that's for people who like you're not an avid fisherman, like you're not going out like 3 times a week. If you're just wanting to show off your catch, you know, just pop it on there. But why are you sharing your location? Don't do that.
Yeah. Did you know, even if you put your location like on private, this was about 2.5 years ago. Fishbrain hooked me up with like a little sponsorship, I should say, quote unquote. But they upgraded me to the Fishbrain Pro. And people who had their locations marked as private, I could still see where they caught their fish.
You're kidding.
On the Pro, because that was one of the privileges of being on the Pro side, was you could see the exact spots people caught their fish and tagged them. Yeah,
oh my God.
There was no hiding it.
I did not know that.
I went back and deleted all my posts on Fishbrain. All the ones that had like locations and stuff.
Oh my. I wonder, geez, that's almost like kind of like Facebook scary, you know?
Yeah.
It's like showing your location.
I would have people go to some of my private fishing spots asking the owners if they could fish there because they saw, you know, people were fishing there. They're like, no, like this one guy can fish here. So I get where they were going with that app, but I kind of feel like it took a turn.
Yeah, the whole location
for the
thing.
Worst.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
If it would have just been Fisherman Facebook, great. You put the locations on there, bad.
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough. I did not know that. Hopefully they fixed that by now. Surely. Which I mean I don't know what is the perk of being a pro on Fishbrain, like having the premium package. You know, is that it?
It would give you like a typographical maps, if that's how you say it, of like lakes around you. It would tell you the exact pinpoint locations that people were catching their fish. It was just a lot of the things that people had to set as private. It would tell you was basically the main perk of the Fishbrain Pro. And I think you would get discounts on stuff if you bought anything from their store. I don't exactly remember. I just remember when they hooked me up with that Pro and I was seeing guys spots around me and I'm like, dang.
That's rough. I'm gonna have to go back and make sure I didn't upload anything on there. All right. So the next. All right. Someone asked this. What is the craziest catch you've ever had? So it doesn't have to be your PB. Just what's the craziest catch you've ever had?
All right. This one's not gonna sound believable, but I caught. This is not a fishing story, but I mean it is a fishing story. But there's a place called Sweetwater Creek State Park down the road from me, and I caught. I don't want to give it away. I probably caught 9 or 10 bass at one time. Hold up now.
What?
Hold up. It sounds far-fetched.
It does.
But the reason I did is because I caught somebody's stringer out in the middle of the lake, and it had all their fish on it. And like they were still alive. So I don't know if their stringer came off their boat. But I caught it on a crankbait and reeled in just like a stringer full of fish. And I'm over here like, I get to tell for the rest of my life that I caught like 9 or 10 bass on one bait. And nobody's going to believe it.
That's great. That's probably the most I've ever heard. Easy.
That's back before I had a GoPro. That would have been a great catch.
Oh, that would have been epic. My craziest catch, I don't know. It's probably that alligator gar I caught.
That was a good one.
It was nothing crazy, I mean, it was crazy, but it wasn't catching 10 fish or anything. But that's probably the craziest catch I've ever had. I caught a spoonbill one time in a trout line. So I was surprised when I saw that. Yeah. But do you call them spoonbill in Alabama?
Yeah.
Or Georgia?
Yeah.
You do? Spoonbill catfish? Do you call them spoonbill catfish?
They're called a spoonbill catfish.
Yeah. So I've made a few TikToks and reels where I've referred to them as spoonbill catfish, and people just went off the edge on me. They're like, "That's not a catfish." Yeah. So, and I Googled it, and right on Google, people are referring to them as that. They have different names, but yeah, that's what I always called them too, spoonbill catfish. So I would love to get into snagging those. By the way, you ever been snagging?
It's not. I don't think it's legal to snag anything here in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
In Alabama, you can snag a lot of stuff. They don't care over there.
Really?
But I can't tell you, I've never
snagging alien bees off the bed over there. What's his name?
Oh yeah, that guy that they caught that guy snagging those huge bass.
Yeah, didn't he have the world record?
He was catching like 18 and 19 pound bass like all the time, and was snagging these.
Can't think of his name. I think it's Mike something.
No, but yeah, you can. You used to be able to snag striped bass in Alabama. I'm not sure if you still can, but some people are diehard into it.
Yeah, for sure. What is your favorite sport? You look like a football guy.
I used to play football. Would you consider like powerlifting a sport?
Sure.
I like lifting heavy weights, and I used to compete back in the day.
Okay.
So I would consider that a sport. It's not a team sport. It's an individual sport. And I've always been like an individual sport guy. Because I did football.
You're not a team player?
I'm not. Like, I did track, and it was all about how fast I could do the 100, the 200, the 400. When I did powerlifting, it was about how much weight I could do. Like, I didn't have to rely on a teammate, per se. I guess I have trust issues.
I guess so. What about watching sports? What's your favorite sport to watch?
Bro, I'm going to be honest and tell you I don't watch sports at all.
You don't watch sports? Really?
No.
I take you as a sports guy.
I look like it whenever I get in my group of guys and they're all talking football. I'm normally just whatever team they don't like, I just cheer for that one just to ag them on.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I can watch football,
I'm a huge basketball guy. See, Kentucky basketball. That's my thing.
I can't get into basketball. I can watch football. Especially college football. I can't watch pro football at all. But I can't get into baseball or basketball, man. It's not
interesting. I'm not a big baseball guy. I enjoy playing baseball.
Same.
What is your favorite rod? We're winding down here, so we're getting into the last few questions.
I just bought a new Lew's. It's like a signature series worm rod. I'd have to pull it out of my truck. I think it's still in the truck, but I just got it 3 weeks ago, and I've been loving that thing. It's like a 7-foot, medium heavy, standard worm rod, wind grips and all. But it's a special.
I love the wind grips.
Yeah, it's a special just worm rod edition, and I've never bought just a worm rod specifically. I usually just use a medium heavy multi-purpose, and I don't know if it's just because I bought the worm rod. That thing's really nice. It's probably my new favorite rod.
Sick. What about your favorite reel? Might as well throw that in there. You got any of the TI4s? Is that what it's called?
I have you talking about the Lew's reels?
The Lew's reels, yeah.
I have the chrome one. What's it called? Come on now. The Hypermag.
Okay, yeah.
I have 3 Hypermags. Those are really nice. They have the centrifugal braking system and the magnetic brakes, so it's pretty smooth.
Jerking out the big terms here.
It's basically Lew's version of the DC, but it's not a DC. But it's probably just as good at casting.
Another thing that's overrated is DC reels. You agree with that?
I agree. People like them for the sound.
Yeah, 100%. I've backlashed my share of DC reels. Probably,
bro.
Probably because I don't know exactly how to set them.
Yeah.
So
I used to have,
even though I made a video about it.
I used to have an Abu Garcia Black Max like 8 or 9 years ago, and something was breaking in it, and it sounded exactly like a DC reel, like it just ying every time you casted it. So whenever those DCs got really popular, I didn't know what they were, but I'm just like, those guys need to oil up their reels, because mine used to sound like that too.
I got a Pro Qualifier right now that sounds like that. My favorite rod, to me, I had a guy, I was looking at some bows a while back, and I was asking the guy at the shop, I was like, what's the best bow on the market? And this is what he told me, and I think it applies also to like modern fishing equipment. He said like the gap between like the worst and the best isn't what it used to be. So I feel like all of these companies are like, the difference is very minimal, right. And at the end of the day, it just comes down to what your preference is. But probably my most sensitive rod is, and it's like $650 if you buy it new, is a G Loomis Conquest, and that's the only one I got. I got it for like my shaky heads and head rigs, like when the bite's really tough and you really need like a lot of sensitivity. But I feel like the drop off between that and like a $200 rod isn't like all that. You know what I mean? Like what you're getting for whatever rate of sensitivity is not equal to what it is at $200. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I would say that's my best rod. My favorite reel, I got some Shimano Metaniums, and I really like those.
Big money.
They're pretty nice. Yeah, they're nice. I've got 3. I've got a Met DC, and but I'm usually a pretty big Corrado guy. I'll tell you a reel. I know you're sponsored by Lowe's and everything. I'll tell you a reel that I like, and I think it's only like $70 maybe, and it's the Walmart Lew's Reactor. Is that right? The Reactor.
I used to have that one.
I think that's an underrated reel. I really like it. It's got the grips on it.
Yeah. They have the Reactor rod at Walmart too. I used to have the matching combo.
I didn't know they had a combo.
I'll tell you what people compare apples to oranges is like they'll compare, those $50 to $60 Lew's or Abu Garcia reels to the Shimano DCs, and they'll say the Shimano DCs are superior. I'm like, I agree, but you're comparing a $300 reel to a $60 reel. How about you get the Lew's Hypermag or the Pro TI, or you can even get the Abu Garcia, the Revo X, the new one they just came out with. Get you a $300 Abu Garcia reel, a $300 Lew's reel, and a $300 Shimano. Like you said, there's not that big of a difference. But people are used to these cheap Walmart combos and comparing them.
Yeah. I give Shimano the edge. I'm a Shimano guy, but I don't think the drop off the Lew's is all that big. You know what I mean?
Have you seen those $60 Shimano combos at Walmart? They're not that great.
Really? I can't think if I have.
Yeah, like they're not that great.
Really? I need to test those out.
They're like 5 ball bearing, low ball bearing, like just a foam handle, like nothing fancy about it, but it's just the Shimano brand.
Yeah, I need to try them out. So I think that's all the questions I got. You got any more?
That's all I got, man.
All good. How we running on time? We're just kind of operating just off the cuff with these things.
I'm not sure. We've probably been going 30 minutes.
30 minutes? That sounds good to me. But anyway, hope you guys are enjoying these podcasts. This is our second one we've done. We're yet to get a name, and if there's a comment section, there probably is, because we probably already made a YouTube channel. Which, honestly, if we've already made a YouTube channel, we've probably got a name for this podcast already. So, but if we haven't in some way, just let us know what should we have named the podcast. So, yeah. And if you guys have any ideas for other podcasts or things that you would like to hear us talk about, make sure to comment those as well. Marshall, anything else to say?
That's all I got, man. Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys for listening. And if any sponsors out there want to help us out with the podcast, we are completely open. And we got our emails down in the description as well. So, with that said, appreciate you guys for watching and listening. We'll catch you next time.
Peace.